Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with my coaching reality series called From a Coach's Perspective. Today I want to talk about the 5 foods that I incorporate into my day-to-day diet and that I have been utilizing for the past 20 plus years on a daily basis. If you follow me on Facebook or you've seen some of my Instagram videos or some of my posts, you know that I'm a firm believer in rotating my proteins, my fats, and my carbohydrates throughout the year. All right. However, there are certain proteins, fats, and carbs that I keep in year round. And I'm going to go through the 5 that I like to utilize year round and why I like to keep these in. Now, I want to remind everyone that I'm not suggesting that you yourself have to include these 5 foods into your day-to-day diet. Okay. These are 5 foods that work really well for me. And I'm basing that on my performance level, my age, what's worked well as far as digesting the foods from my digestive tract, what's kept me regular because I do consume a lot of foods, and overall just foods that I enjoy. Because I always talk about if the diet plan that you're following is not sustainable, it's not going to be successful. So if you don't like any of the foods on your diet, of course you're not going to stick with it. But if you can actually like some of the foods that are healthy for you and they're actually allowing you to perform better in the gym, they're allowing you to sleep and recover better at night, and you like them, they're only going to add benefits to your physique and to your overall health and well-being, right? So I'm going to list off my 5 foods that I like to use, and I'm going to tell you why I like to use these foods year round. Starting with food number 1, oatmeal. Now, when I use oatmeal, I use it for multiple reasons, but the main reason I like to use oatmeal is actually for the fiber content. I consume a lot of food throughout the day, and a lot of that food, if I'm not careful, if I don't have enough fiber, that can create constipation issues. What I find when I utilize foods like oatmeal, which are high in fiber, they allow me to stay regular on a daily basis. Now, I know that might be TMI for a lot of people, but I have a lot of clients that work with me who do suffer from severe and even slight IBS issues, constipation being one of them. And I do find that incorporating foods like oats, cream of rice, even a little bit of Ezekiel bread can help when we're talking about the fiber content for these people. All right. Now, obviously, if you have an allergy to oats or you're gluten intolerant, you can also get a gluten-free version of oats, right? They have that as well. I don't have a gluten intolerance personally, so I just consume oats 3 times a day. I do it at 100 grams per serving. So that's 300 grams of oats per day, which I think is about, oh God, it's over 4 cups of oats. And what I find is that not only does the fiber help keep me regular, but because it's a complex carbohydrate, it allows my energy levels to stay stable throughout the day. So my blood sugar levels aren't crashing, my insulin levels aren't spiking. All right. So one more thing to add to that too is because of the high fiber content combined with the complex carbohydrate, it allows my body to feel fuller for a longer period of time. Whereas if you have a simple carbohydrate, let's say like a muffin, for example, your energy levels are going to spike and you're going to crash very quickly, right? So you want a complex carbohydrate, and if you can get a complex carbohydrate with fiber on top of that, even better, right? So that's why I like to include oats into my daily routine. And like I said, I personally have it 3 times a day, morning, mid-afternoon, and at night before I go to bed. And I do find it really works well for my body and for my digestive tract. Food number 2, which is actually not even a food, it's a powder, protein powder. I'm a firm believer in whey isolate or whey concentrate, depending on your ability or your tolerance to whey protein powder as a whole. And the reason why I like using whey protein powder is because number one, it's convenient, right? It's a really easy way to get in your protein. It's a scoop of protein powder. You could throw it into your morning oats if you want. You could throw it into a shake with maybe some peanut butter or some berries. It's very easy to get in. It's easy to digest for most people, especially people who are lactose intolerant. If I work with someone who is lactose intolerant, I'll usually recommend a good whey isolate because there's very little dairy in there. If I'm working with someone who's not lactose intolerant and can tolerate dairy, like myself, I'll say I'll go ahead for a whey concentrate. The most important thing though is whatever you're using, whether it's a whey concentrate or a whey isolate, is that you're using a high quality protein powder. The best way to find out if your protein powder is high quality, turn it around, read the nutritional label. If it contains more than 1 gram of sugar, it's not a good quality protein powder. If it contains more than 3 grams of carbs per serving, it's not a good protein powder. And if it contains more than 2.5 grams of fat, it's not a good protein powder. Okay. You get what you pay for when you're buying supplements. So you want to make sure that you are putting your money on a good product. So yeah, it's going to cost you maybe $20, $30 more for the high quality protein concentrate, the whey isolate or the whey concentrate, but it's worth it. All right. Because here's the thing. If you get a shitty protein powder, you're going to be on the toilet a lot and your body's not going to absorb the nutrients. So you want something that has is a high quality of nutrients. The micronutrients are in check. And as long as like the protein levels per scoop, as long as they're between 25 to 35 grams of protein, I think that's more than enough. I don't think you need to be consuming like 60 grams of protein per serving or anything like that. But as long as the sugar's in check, the carbs are in check, and the fats are in check, that's a good quality protein powder. Now, again, I like to include protein powder in year round because, like I said, it's easy to digest. It's convenient. It's actually quite cost effective too, because a lot of people go, "Oh my God, it's like 90 bucks for a good whey isolate or a good whey concentrate." I'm like, yeah, but think about how much money you spend on like chicken or turkey or salmon. Like, yeah, it costs money, but it lasts, right? So like a bag of protein powder for me is like 70 bucks. But that bag of protein powder is going to last me at least 2 weeks, right? Because I use it every day. So that's not bad when you say, okay, it's 70 bucks divided by 14 days. So it's actually pretty cost effective, all right? So that's another reason why I like to include whey isolate or concentrate, depending on if I'm getting ready for a contest, I'll use the whey isolate. But because I'm not lactose intolerant, I can stomach whey concentrate, no problem. So I'll just do whey concentrate throughout the year. But for my clients who are lactose intolerant, I strongly advise them to do a good whey isolate protein powder. All right, food number three. Okay, so I've knocked off a complex carbohydrate with the oats. I've knocked off a lean protein powder with the whey isolate or the whey concentrate. Now I'm going to go to a healthy fat. Now I incorporate a lot of healthy fats into my diet on a yearly basis, right? And I rotate my fats just like I rotate my proteins, I rotate my carbs. But the one fat that I keep in year round, peanut butter and natural peanut butter. So what I mean by that is the peanut butter I use has no more than 1 gram of sugar per serving. You do not want to be consuming peanut butter with added sugar. Not a good idea. All right. So you got to watch that. So if your peanut butter contains more than 1 gram of sugar per serving, it's a shitty peanut butter. Throw it away. Don't want it. A good peanut butter, though, okay, is going to help in ways that you cannot imagine. I know there's a lot of people out there who are trying to lose weight, and to them, they think of peanut butter like, oh no, that's way too high in calories. I'm not going to be able to lose weight with peanut butter. You're wrong. If you incorporate peanut butter and you're practicing proper portion control, you're going to actually allow your body to consume less food because fats, healthy fats, allow your body to stay fuller for a longer period of time. So they're going to stop you from overeating. All right. So, yes, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, which is not very much, is 100 calories per serving, right? So, at face value, you're like, oh my God, that's 100 calories for just one little tablespoon. Here's the thing though, that one little tablespoon is going to stop you from having an extra cup of rice. It's going to stop you from maybe having, an extra piece of pizza if your blood sugar levels are crashing or you want some sugar and you're going to go for that that brownie or that muffin because again healthy fats will actually allow you to stabilize your blood sugar levels as well throughout the day. Okay, so whenever I'm working with someone who either overeats or is a sugar addict, I'll usually add more healthy fats into their diet and slowly lower their carbs, including their complex carbs. Because I need to regulate their blood sugar levels, I need to stabilize their insulin levels. And by incorporating more healthy fats, whether it's with peanut butter, cashew butter, almond butter, extra virgin olive oil, omega-3 eggs, avocados, they all help. All right. Obviously, if you're allergic to peanuts, don't do peanut butter, okay? But you could do extra virgin olive oil, which I also use year round as well. But again, I tend to go more towards the peanut butter. I just like it more, and it does give me a little bit more satisfaction in my diet. So I love it. I use it even when I'm getting ready for shows. Obviously, not as much, but I do use it for the reason it allows me to stay fuller for a longer period of time. So it stops me from overeating. All right. So the natural peanut butter, in my opinion, is one of the best healthy fats that you can incorporate into your diet. If you are allergic to peanuts, do not have it, switch over to another fat, avocado, omega-3 eggs, extra virgin olive oil. All those are excellent fats. Salmon, I use those year round as well, but I do, like I said, I rotate them in and out, but I do use them. Okay. All right. So we've knocked off a complex carbohydrate, a lean protein, a healthy fat. I'm going to go back to another carb, and that carb is going to be rice. Right now, I'm doing jasmine rice. Sometimes I'll do brown rice. Sometimes I'll do basmati rice. But rice is a staple in my diet. All right. For, again, a few reasons. One is cost effective. I've been doing rice since I was a teenager when I would first started competing because I didn't have much money and it was very cheap. It was very easy to get. It was very convenient to make. I mean, you could pick up that minute rice, although I don't use that rice anymore, but still it's rice. And so it was quick, it was easy, and it's easy to digest. A lot of people I work with have problems digesting certain foods. Rice is not one of those foods. Most people can digest rice pretty easily, okay? And I'm not talking about the rice that's deep fried rice. I'm talking about good, clean rice, jasmine rice, brown rice, basmati rice, but clean rice. You're not adding sauces and you're not frying it up and anything like that. No, just rice. And again, it's easy to meal prep. So I have a lot of clients here come to meal prepping. They're pretty lazy. Like, "Ah, I don't want to prep all this food." I'm like, put the rice cooker on. It takes 30 minutes. Scoop out a cup, put it in your food. How easy could that be? Like you can't make it more easier than that, right? So it's a very convenient food to make. It's easy on the digestive tract, and you can really add it to any meal you want. I've added it with my chicken, I've added it with my turkey, my salmon, my cod, my tilapia. It's pretty simple. All right. So other complex carbs that I like to use throughout the year, I'll switch over to sweet potatoes, yams, quinoa, barley. Like I said, cream of rice at times, Ezekiel bread, carbonal bread. So there's other great sources of complex carbs out there for sure, even some whole wheat pastas. But a staple in my routine has always been rice, just for the convenience factor. I wouldn't say necessarily from a nutrient factor because rice is not like overly nutritious, but at the same time, it's not bad for us as long as it's consumed in moderation. You're practicing proper portion control. Ideally, when you are having rice, my recommendation is to combine it with a lean protein source and a healthy fat. Okay. Because again, some people will say that when they have white rice, for example, they notice that they're hungry within like 30 minutes again. And I always say, yeah, but if you add some extra virgin olive oil to that, or even some peanut butter, healthy fat, avocado, maybe some egg, you'll notice that your insulin levels are actually stabilized. So as are your blood sugar levels. So you won't be craving more carbs. That's another problem too. When you have a diet that's so high in carbs, you tend to crave more carbs, even complex carbs. So whenever I'm putting together a nutritional plan for clients, I'll always try my best whenever I'm putting a carb source in. Usually, I'll add a fat source to that unless it's pre-workout where it's just a carb and a protein. Okay. I'm not going to get more into that because today we're all about my top five foods. So I'm not going to go into why I combine certain macronutrients at certain times of the day. If you want to know more about that, you can check out my no filter Q&A. I've talked about that immensely over the years, or some of my posts on Instagram, or you can hire me as your online coach, and I'll go through in great detail why I recommend combining certain macronutrients at certain times of the day and not combining others. All right, so we've knocked out brown rice, white rice, basmati rice, quinoa. Can have any of that stuff, okay? Those are all great complex carbohydrates. Yams, sweet potatoes. I like the rice, okay? So that works for me. So if we were to list off the foods that I've gone through so far, oats being one of them, that's a great complex carbohydrate source. The whey isolate or the whey concentrate protein powder, that's another great lean protein source. The natural peanut butter, like I said, that's what I use, but you could use cashew butter, almond butter, olive oil, eggs, avocado, great healthy fat. And then the rice, whether it's white rice, jasmine rice, or brown rice or basmati rice, that's another great complex carb. All right. So the last food that I'm a little guilty of not incorporating enough of, and I'll admit that, but because I'm lazy at doing it, I have given myself a pretty good alternative. Green vegetables. I don't like to prep food every day of the week. I don't. I honestly really don't have the time to do it, especially if my schedule, if I'm working 16-hour days, I don't have time to cook every friggin' day of the week. So what I do is I usually cook my meals twice a week for the whole week. Okay, I pick 2 days where I'm not so busy and I can prep all my foods. Unfortunately, with vegetables, I find it's something you have to cook every second day or every day. So because I don't really have time to do that, I mean, I still have greens from time to time, but I'll use a greens powder. So I'm making sure I'm getting in the majority of my nutrients through the green powders. I know it's not the exact same thing, but I mean, there are some very high quality green powders out there now in the market. So, I mean, these powders have come a long way since 5, 10 years ago. So I have a powder that I use called Greens on the Go. And I mean, it's not cheap, but I use it twice a day. And I feel, or I hope, I'm getting in the majority of my nutrients that I need. According to my blood work, everything looks good. So I'm hoping I do. But greens to me are great because they're a good fibrous carbohydrate. And I always incorporate greens on my nutritional plans for people. And I explain to my clients, like, I prefer if you stick to green vegetables and not colored vegetables. It's not that I'm against colored vegetables, it's I'm looking for you to have high fibrous carbohydrates. And I always tell my clients, like, don't even worry about measuring your greens. Even though I give you portion sizes, like 1 cup of broccoli or 1 cup of spinach, have as much as you want. I don't care. You don't need to measure your greens because greens are a fibrous carbohydrate, which essentially means that they're actually going to help you burn more calories in a rested state. Okay. Not to mention, again, we talked about fiber earlier. Fiber is going to allow you to feel fuller for a longer period of time. It's going to keep you feeling regular. Okay. You don't have too much fiber, but you're having greens and you're having oats, that should be good. Okay. But in my opinion, when you're doing that with the greens, it's going to help not just from a health component, but that fiber intake will allow you to feel fuller for a longer period of time. Okay. So a lot of people say you got to get your greens, got to get your greens. I agree with that. If you're lazy like me, though, when it comes to cooking your greens and preparing your greens, oh, you can have greens raw. Um, I would recommend a greens powder. And don't cheap out on the greens powder because there's a lot of bad ones out there. Okay, there are. I've had some clients cheap out on some powders and they send me them. I'm like, no, this is garbage. Okay, we don't want that. So the one I use, like I said, Greens on the Go, that's a really good one. I'm not endorsed by them or I'm not sponsored by them in any way. So I'm not trying to just say get that one, but you want a high quality greens powder. And the best way to do that is turn around, read the label, read what's inside, read what you're taking. Don't take something that says proprietary blend. You don't know what the hell that is. Okay. You want to know exactly what you're taking. Okay. So that's my recommendation. So those are the five foods that I use. I know two of those are powders right now, but I do have greens throughout the year. Obviously, I have other proteins besides whey protein powder. I mean, if you look at my videos in my fridge, I've got tons of chicken, tons of turkey, tons of salmon, cod, tilapia. I'm using tons of protein, egg whites. Okay. But a staple that I keep in year round, whey protein powder. All right. So again, those are the foods that I find are easy to digest, give me lots of energy, allow me to maintain a fairly lean physique, allow me to rest and recover, and keep my blood sugar levels and my insulin levels stable throughout the day. So I'm not relying on stimulants and I'm not crashing with energy levels going up and down. Those are my five. Like I said, these are not five foods that I'm telling you that you have to have. These are just five foods that I find work really well for me. All right. Of course, everyone is different. I've got some people that can't stomach these foods. I do. Okay. But like I said, for them, there's alternatives. You always want to make sure, just like exercises, you always want to make sure you have an alternative just in case your body can't tolerate the exercise or your body can't tolerate the food. All right. So by working with a good coach or even doing your own research to find out what works for you, trial and error process, then you put together a plan. And that plan is a plan that you can take and that you can follow. And not only will you become successful, but because it's sustainable, you're going to surpass your expectations because you're going to be able to sustain this type of lifestyle long term as opposed to a few short weeks. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Coaching Reality. This episode will be going up on Wednesday, June the 17th. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram at fitcausegrowth_. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out this week's No Filter Q&A. It just dropped this past Monday. I truly do appreciate all the support and all the feedback that I receive from each and every single one of you. Thank you all again, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.